The Chicago Bulls have made their next move in free agency, signing free agent for Torrey Craig to a 2-year deal, as reported by Woj. We're going to get into all that and some more, how he can fit on the team right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. But let's go ahead and get into it today. We can get all the intro stuff out the way. The Chicago Bulls are signing for Torrey Craig to a 2-year deal with a player option in the second year. And so this is something that you're seeing a lot in this free agency is the 2-year deals with the player option. And kind of just to get that out the way, what that brings to the team is that it gets the team, the player, and the team kind of a way to get out of that contract, right? Now, depending on the size of the contract, we don't exactly know what money he signed to as of yet. I don't expect it to be a lot of money, but what a 2-year with a player option in the second year does, it kind of preserves your cap space in a way, right? If that player does opt out in the following season, you have now that money to go back on the books. Now, yes, every year contracts rise as well as the salary cap, but it's kind of a way to get a player in that you need without really spending a lot of long-term money or assets, right? So we'll end up seeing what this brings for Torrey Craig. Ultimately, as well, I want to point out, this is more than likely for either the biannual exception or the remaining part of the remaining mid-level exception. This does not preclude the Chicago Bulls from using the disabled player exception once it is approved to maybe go after a Mo Bamba, to go after a PJ Washington, to go after Danilo Gallinari, right? It does not stop the Chicago Bulls from doing that. So I wanted to kind of get those things out the way. But what the Bulls are getting in Torrey Craig is a veteran player, 32 years old, 6'7", 221 pounds, who could play the power forward or small forward position. Last season, for example, he hit 44% of his three-pointers. I'm sorry, that was in the postseason. Let's switch that back. In the regular season last year, he shot the ball 39% from three-point range. Now, is that going to be consistent for him? When you look at it, he's a career 34% three-point shooter. Now, last season, he took 3.2 three-pointers per game. In his career, he averages 2.6 three-pointers per game. Last year, averaging 7.4 points per game overall. He started 60 out of 79 games played. He also averaged 5 rebounds per game, 1.4 assists, a little under a block per game, and only less than a turnover per game. When you look at his career numbers as well, 6 points per game in his career. He's played 379 games. He shot the ball for his career 45% from the field, 34% from three-point range, also averaging 4 rebounds, 1 assist in that time, a little under a steal per game as well. What the Bulls are getting in Torrey Craig is a veteran who brings some playoff experience as well, playing 75 playoff games over the course of his career since he came into the NBA. And you're adding a veteran with that experience who can play either the backup 3 or the backup 4, maximize those minutes, right? You can get the most out of that time with him being able to play both positions. Yes, it'll be a small ball 4, but again, as we know, our starting power forward, or projected starting power forward in Patrick Williams, isn't much taller in that case, right? But here's where I get into my personal feelings on the signing. While I understand it, and I think that it's a decent signing for a veteran to come in, add some depth to your team, I almost would have rather Javonte Green be re-signed, right? Yes, Javonte, we know, is even smaller than Torrey Craig, but when you look at the defense, when you look at the deflections, when you look at the getting out in transition, those type of things, Javonte just offers more of that. As well as some of the questions around Torrey Craig, is that shooting touch going to be something that you can bet on? He only really had one season of that. While he's never been a terrible three-point shooter, but when you look at it, the closest he's been to 40% three-point shooting was just last season, and he's 32 years old. So, again, some questions arise with that. Not as seamless of a fit as the Jevon Carter signing. I'm not as high on it, right? I'm not necessarily down on this signing either. I'm just not as high as what I was on the Jevon Carter signing. If I had to bring it all together, I'm not overwhelmed by the signing. I'm not really underwhelmed either. I'm kind of just whelmed, right? And it's a depth piece. It's a depth signing. It's a decent signing. Probably not for a lot of money. It does not preclude you from or keep you from using your disabled player exception to go after, like I said, a Danilo Gallinari, a Mo Bamba. It doesn't stop you from doing that, which may be the next move coming, right? We may have a couple of days of kind of slowness waiting for that next move to come. But Torrey Craig was a player that a lot of people kind of pegged to come to the Chicago Bulls, a team that didn't have a lot of money to spend, a team that had roster spots that they needed to fill for some at a veteran minimum, which I wouldn't be surprised if this is what it is for Torrey Craig. It's just something to be said that a team like the Phoenix Suns, who needs as much depth as possible, doesn't necessarily keep this player, even look to keep him, right? But again, like I said, not necessarily negative or down on this signing. I'm just not as high on it as the Javon Carter move, and I hope that this another move is coming before free agency ends, that we get a little bit more of a high caliber player. But let me know what you guys think on it down below. Are you with me? Are you high, low on the signing? Do you see how he's going to fit? Do you think he can push Patrick Williams to potentially start? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, you can leave a text message and our voicemail to sound off on this or any other topic. The number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.